Okay, cool. We are live. Thank you for getting us here, Marissa. We'll talk to you later. All right, everyone. My name is Danielle Dresser. I am the editorial manager for freshfiction.com, and I'm here with Love Sweet Arrow. And we are joined tonight for Love in a Small Town with our fabulous author guest, Reese Ryan and Annie Rains. Welcome, you two.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us tonight. Before we get started, I do want to go through a few reminders. Number one, you're going to see me look over to the side a lot. It's because I have two monitors. I will be able to see the chat. So everyone who is here and hopefully in chatting, I will be watching. But Marissa will take note of any questions that come in throughout the chat. So definitely, if you guys have questions or fun comments, put them in the chat and we will get to them as we can. Especially since they're just the three of us, I'll be able to kind of incorporate everything into the conversation as we go on. I also want to remind everyone, we are about to get into the very busy holiday gift giving season. The perfect place for you to go to check out for great gift ideas for the book lovers in your life or for yourself is to go to lovesweetarrow.com. They have a great holiday gift guide. They have fun merch. I remembered it this time. I have the Love Sweet Arrow candle.
Nice.
It smells really wonderful. You can see on the side, I use it quite a bit. I'm going to have to get another one. It has vanilla, peony, cedar, and patchouli. It smells really, really good. But they have t-shirts. They have like great gift boxes. So definitely please check that out. And yes, so now I went through my housekeeping. We are going to jump right in. And we're really here to celebrate the release of Reese's small town romance, Second Chance on Cypress Lane. So congratulations, Reese.
Thank you.
Hey, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I'm so excited that Annie has a novella right inside of it. So, wow.
Yeah. That's awesome. So can you give us a little bit of a rundown, maybe a little bit of the inspiration, and kind of what you loved about writing this book?
Well, the story itself is about a up or on the rise New York reporter who unwittingly finds herself in an international scandal that tanks her career. She ends up going back home to her seaside hometown where she is going to lick her wounds, eat lots of lemon meringue pie, discover secrets from the past, and get a second chance with her first love.
Yeah.
And the inspiration for it was actually a trip to my first trip to the Outer Banks, because this book is set in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And I moved here from Ohio, lived here for about maybe 5 or 6 years, and we had never gone to the Outer Banks. So finally we went to the Outer Banks, and while we were there, we visited a town called Duck. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to write about a town in the Outer Banks from that point. And so that's kind of where then the rest of the story just sprung off from there. The stories, because I've mapped out 8 stories for this series, so we'll see how far it goes.
Thank you for reminding me. I saw in the book that Annie's novella is in the book, and so obviously welcome, Annie. In addition to the great novella in the book, you have a recent holiday release. It's called Season of Joy.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was so congrats on that. That came out in October, right?
Yes, I think October 13th.
Okay, cool. And yeah, I was just wondering, same question, kind of what was the setup and your inspiration for this book? And you can talk about the novella if you'd like to too.
Well, for Season of Joy, it's book 6 in my Sweetwater Springs series. So it's set in North Carolina, a small mountain town, and the hero is a Christmas tree farmer. So that's basically what the book revolves around. His tree farm is half of it burnt in the spring, and he's trying to make sure that the farm is turning a profit this year. And the heroine comes in and she kind of saves the day by creating a Christmas tree workshop. They fall in love and all that good stuff. Not to give it away, but it's a romance, so happily ever after.
Yeah. I will say in your book, Annie, your heroine is very crafty. She's an artist, but she also does a lot of crafty stuff. Are you crafty at all?
No, I've tried to be crafty. Like,
Yeah.
I always wanted to be a writer, and then I went through this phase where I took painting classes. I took watercolor and
Mhm.
oil painting and stained glass classes. So I've tried my hand, but then I came back to writing.
Yeah.
But I'm a wannabe. I want to be crafty.
Yeah, same.
That's
No.
what I am. Want to be
Yeah.
crafty. Like
I'm just
I bought a ton of knitting stuff and a ton of jewelry making stuff, and like neither thing have I like practiced enough to like get good at. So,
Yeah.
I think that's my
I
thing.
see Macy knits with her knitting, and I'm like, I should knit.
I started cross stitching. Like I've always kind of cross stitched, but then I got back into it like about halfway through, I think, the whole pandemic. And I always say, and I've seen a lot of people say this, but it's very cathartic to just like stab something over and over and over. So that's why I do it. But like my stitches are all over the place, and it never looks, there's always like something not quite right. Like it's like, what did I miss in this pattern? But anyway, so I want to really kind of start our discussion with having you both talk about why you wanted to write small town romances and what you love about small town romances, either for writing or for reading. So Annie, why don't you start?
Um, well, I feel most comfortable writing in the small town setting. I've grown up in a small town, and there's small towns all around me. And I love all the shows that have the small towns. I feel like they're cozy and they're kind of a character in and of themselves.
Mhm.
And my favorite tropes are second chance romance, which I know is Reese's book, and her book is on its way to me, like hopefully as we speak. So I
Yeah.
can't wait to read it. But second chance romance and like homecoming stories. And I feel like small town really is like the perfect setting for those tropes. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a good fit for me.
Awesome. What about you, Reese?
I love that sense of community that there is in a small town, and everybody knows each other, everybody's up in each other's businesses. And again, I do like that kind of idea of just rediscovering home and rediscovering self and stuff. Those are themes that often occur in my stories, and so small town often lends itself to that, especially when it's somebody returning who's kind of left and had that feeling of, oh, I want something bigger or better than this, or what they think, only to kind of journey back and find out how important it was in their life and how much they missed. So I love that whole thing that you get from small town romance, and so I've been doing that. So and then I live in it's not small town exactly. I call it a smallish town. It's a smaller town. And so once I kind of moved to North Carolina and moved to like areas with like smaller towns, I was kind of fascinated with that. And so that kind of sent me down the trail of writing about small towns.
Awesome. So yeah, so you both have brought up North Carolina. And I was wondering, did you base the small towns in your books on real small towns, or were they just completely made up for you?
And
Yeah, go ahead.
Who's going? Me?
Yeah, you go ahead.
I kind of took like all the small towns I know of and kind of like, put them in a blender and blended them together, and took out my favorite parts. And it's no small town in particular. It's kind of everything I love about every small town I've ever visited.
Yeah. Reese, what about you?
So Duck, especially for this series, Duck was the inspiration for that. So it's not that it's about Duck, but it just inspired it. And so for kind of some of the geography and stuff, I kind of looked at that area.
Yeah.
So for it, but yeah, I like making up my own. That way you can do whatever you want. You have complete license without anybody contacting you to say, hey, that is on the other side of the street. Yeah. So
yeah.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, like taking creative license and just being like, well, it was like this, but it works better this way in my story. So I'm wondering, have both of you written only small town, or do you write about big cities, and which do you prefer? So Annie, why don't you go?
I've only done small towns. I don't really know big cities very well, so I don't feel like I do a very good job.
Yeah.
I've ventured out to big cities, but I don't know them as well as I know the small towns. So that's where I stick to.
Yeah.
So I used to live in Cleveland, Ohio. So to me, that's big city. so, and so my first series was set in Cleveland, and I've written other, stories for other little projects and stuff in places like Chicago. But I do like just like the small town, so I can completely control it. In terms of the geography and all of that kind of stuff. I just like the community and the feel of that. So that has become my preference. Yeah. So I think ever since that first series, whenever I'm doing a series from scratch myself, it's usually in a small town.
Yeah, nice. I think this could be fun for the people in the chat. Why don't you guys tell us what you preferred? Are you a city mouse or are you a country mouse? You guys remember that story. But yeah, so everybody who's watching, tell us in the comments, and a little bit later on, I will go through and read some of the responses. And also reminder, everyone, if you have questions for our authors, put them in the chat and we will get to those a little bit later on. So Reese, you and we spoke at the beginning of the pandemic, which I had to like double check because I think that was that in February or in March?
Feels like forever ago.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago at this point. And we were talking about the other book that you had come out this year, A Reunion of Rivals. And that's when you were telling us, like, I think the cover had just been revealed for Second Chance. And we kind of talked about this, but I want to revisit this topic of second chance romances. And you've brought this up already, but what do you love about writing second chance romance? And why do you think so many readers gravitate towards it?
First of all, this year turned out to be like the year of second chance romance for me. And like, I totally did not plan that, but I had 4 releases this year, and out of the 4, 3 of them were second chance romances.
Oh my gosh.
But I love that, again, just basically the fact that people get a chance to try it again and get it right. I guess that's the dream for all of us, for everything. There's so many things in your life where you wish you had this second chance to do it right. Mm-hmm. And so I guess that's what I like about second chance. Also, as a reader, as a writer, what I love about second chance, friends to lovers, even enemies to lovers, is there's so many emotions to mine, so much history. That's like a minefield to walk through for the characters. And so I'm a little lazy. And so it's easier to start with all of this, this material, as opposed to beginning from scratch. So I'm always preferring to have the couple kind of know each other better, because I'm not going to say I don't like insta love, but I'm not as big a fan of like insta love. So I like to have some history and all of that kind of stuff for people to build from.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I always say, like, I love second chance romance too. And everyone's like, well, why? It's fun when they're strangers or whatever. But I'm always like, but the feelings, there's so many feelings. And it's just, they're big emotions. I love it so much. Annie, yeah, you mentioned earlier, have you written, because Season of Joy is not a second chance romance, really. They know each other. But have you written second chance in the past, and what do you like about it as well?
Yeah, I've a couple of my books in the Sweetwater Springs are second chance. And I am like right there with Reese. I love that there's a backstory, and that's usually a big part of the conflict, because there's wounds and there's history, and there's so much more to put in your writing. Mm-hmm. You don't have to start from scratch, like Reese said. And mm-hmm. I really love second chance. I love to read it. I love to write it.
Awesome. Yeah. So jumping back to your novel, Annie, holiday romances are perennial favorites. As the editorial manager for Fresh Fiction, I generally start getting holiday romances in about June, sometimes a little earlier, because they come out in September and October now. So I was wondering what is your process if you're writing a book about Christmas, but it's not the holidays? So what do you do to get into the spirit?
I don't really have a hard time getting in the spirit because I feel like, the older you get, the quicker time flies. So no matter when I'm writing it, I feel like it was just Christmas or Christmas is right around the
Yeah.
corner. And I've gotten to the point where I like start thinking about Christmas in January.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm in this mood pretty much all the time for Christmas. So I don't listen to music or watch movies or really anything like that.
Yeah.
It's always there.
Yeah. That's so
Nice.
fun. Yeah.
See, I would expect that from Annie. She's just like so sweet and bubbly all the time. So like I totally would expect that from Annie.
I sing Christmas songs all year long. It's like, because they're the only ones I know the words to. So I'm saying, so in my house, it's just Christmas.
I love it. Do you have any like favorite Christmas, either one of both of you? Do you have any favorite Christmas or even just holiday romance novels? It doesn't have to just be Christmas.
I am so terrible at names or remembering.
Yeah.
I am horrible at names, but there is a holiday novella that has like, there's a story I think with like Sharice Hodges and maybe Donna Healers, right? There's like a combination of like 2 or 3 people that I really love. And so those are the ones that I really, are some of my favorites that I will go back and read. Like, again, a horrible at remembering the names and stuff like that. But those are fun. And I like the fact that they're novellas and you can read through the several novellas in the story. And so you get different flavors of holiday stories in that one book. So those are a couple of my favorites that are downstairs.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm horrible with names too, but I have my favorites that, certain authors put out Christmas books every single year.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I will never miss a Rand Thing Christmas book. It's like auto buy for me. I would say that those are my favorites. I love those.
No, those are really good. You're right. And she does. She has one just about every single year. It's like, and it's going to be there and it's ready to be read. So speaking of the holidays, I know this year the holidays are going to look a little bit different for everyone involved, but what are some of your holiday traditions that you guys look forward to every year? Reese, why don't you start?
Mainly it's just our family getting together and, cooking and stuff together. We all like to cook. We're all a little competitive. We're all a little special. Yeah. and so like we like to get together and play cutthroat, Uno and stuff like that. So those are the things that that's basically what I love about it. It's just getting a chance to spend some time with family. Are
you a baker or do you cook?
I do both, but baking is what I prefer. So, I'm a little mad because somebody just ate the last of the cobbler that I made the other day. I made cobbler at Thanksgiving, but then I snuck and made another one, and then somebody else found out, and it's gone now.
Right. Annie, what are some of your traditions?
Well, I'm not a cook. I wish I was a cook, but I'm not a cook. Usually it's the Christmas tree. I was going to say baking the Christmas tree, decorating the Christmas tree. We make gingerbread houses, me and my kids. And that's become, at first it was like a thorn in my side. I didn't like that, but I'm starting to like the gingerbread houses.
Nice. Yeah.
So just doing things with my kids and kind of helping them make memories.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That's so much fun. Okay, so we have one vote in the comments for being a country mouse, because I asked everyone if you could choose between being a country mouse and a city mouse. So we've got a country mouse. And then we did get a question that says, I've seen small town used as a descriptor for stories about homogenous, often all white places. How can authors who are writing small inclusive towns push back on this? So I guess just, the evergreen discussion that I think romance is always having about increasing diversity. Do you guys have thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I would say that there are already a ton of authors out there writing diverse or inclusive small towns. Kathy Douglas writes great small town. Rochelle Ehlers writes great small town. There's a lot of authors out there who write small town. There's a lot of them who are writing small town that it might be a little sexier and that are not necessarily classified as small town, like Alicia Rye's Forbidden Heart series.
Yeah.
I love that series so hard. And it is set in a small town, but it's not usually considered, a small town. So there's tons of them out there. You just have to be a little bit, you have to look.
Yeah.
But if you're writing it, just, keep writing it, keep doing your thing, keep putting it out there, because there is right now, more publishers are looking for a more diverse small town. As a matter of fact, my publisher that, my recent book, Second Chance on Cypress Lane came out with, Forever, I just saw that they signed a couple of friends of mine who are writing a diverse small towns, Cheryl Lister and Sisha Love. So right now, especially, people are open to it. So if you're writing that, go for it and put it out there.
I do want
There's readers who want it. I mean, there's a need for it on the shelf. So definitely.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, Annie. I just want to say Kathy Douglas is in the chat, Reese, and she says thanks for the shout out.
Oh, hey, Kathy.
So, hi, Kathy. But yeah, I'm sorry, Reese. Annie, I did not mean to interrupt you.
No, that's all I had to say.
Awesome. Great. Before we move on, so I do have kind of a fun rapid fire. It'll be easy and painless. Don't worry. But
those are always so painful for me. I'm just going to say that up front.
No, it's going to be fun. Before we move on, is there anything that you guys what else you wanted to chat about? Or do you have questions for each other or anything like that before we kind of like shift gears into
I have a question for Reese. Because she was talking, and I don't know if I heard her correctly. Did you say you mapped out 8 books in the series?
Yes. So I mapped out like 6 books and I think 2 novellas. But one of the novellas I think I ended up using in my Pleasure Cove series. That storyline I ended up using in my Pleasure Cove series. So we'll see how many, how many stories ends up being in this. But when I sat down and just started mapping out the stories, they just started that was the first time I ever sat down to do a series, and the stories were just coming like that, like crazy. So I'm excited to see where things go with the series.
Wow. I thought I heard you wrong. I was like,
no.
There's no 8. I'm just trying to get the next one.
And when I say mapped out, it's like little like paragraphs or maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs about each book in the story. So like, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Are you plotters or pantsters? Or are you both? Are you a planster?
I am a hybrid for sure. I used to think I was a pantser, and before I, was under contract and writing, but I kept starting stories, but I never would finish them. And so finally I saw a podcast or heard a podcast with Kimberly Lawson Roby, and she talked about her plotting process, and like she outlines like, wow. I don't even aspire to outline like that. Yeah. But I was like, okay, well, what I'm doing is not working. So I tried it. And so what I have discovered is I need some foundation, but I also need room to just go for it and let the characters do what they want to do and make changes as I want to go. So I'm definitely a hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I am too. I plot and then it changes as I go, and I have to replot, and then it changes. I have to replot. It's a process.
Yeah. Constant revision of your process. Okay, so I'm going to remind everybody too, if you do have questions, put them in the chat box and we will answer them a little bit later. So now we're going to move on to my rapid fire question. They are all small town or like Christmas or holiday focused. And so just for the sake, it is rapid fire, but you guys can elaborate. Don't worry about being rapid, but I'll have it go Reese and Annie, and we'll just go that way through these questions. Okay. So who would you be in a small town? So would you be the nosy neighbor, the mayor, the social butterfly? We'll go from there.
Ooh. Oh, this is a harder one. See, it would be easier if I had options. I don't know. Let me see. I would love for people in the chat to tell me who I would be in the small town. Who would I be in? I would not be the busybody. You know, no, I wouldn't be the busybody. But sometimes I do imitate Rose from 227, and I'm like peeking out the windows, like, what are the neighbors doing? So, whoever that
like
is, that I guess that would be me.
Yeah.
You're very cheerful.
Yeah.
I like that. Thanks. I would be the goofy neighbor. That's what I would be.
Reese, Estelle says that you would be the baker, like the resident baker. Yeah.
I would be willing to do that. I throw down on some cookies and cobbler and stuff like that. So yeah, maybe I could be the baker in the town. I like that.
I like that.
What about you?
Well, the baker sounds like so much fun, but I was going to say I would be the town hermit. I would stay in my house and peek out.
See, that's the first thing that came to my mind. But I'm like, I was like, that's not very nice.
I mean, every small town has one, right? Like, you know, ooh, what's going on?
Everybody would wonder what I'm doing.
Yeah. Kathy followed up and said that Reese, you would be the best friend. I agree. You would be everybody's friend.
No, I can see that. Thank you, Kathy.
I like it. Okay, so moving on. What is your favorite holiday or Christmas movie?
Okay, so the movie I've seen the most is Home Alone. That's the Christmas movie that I've absolutely seen the most. If I had to pick one that I would want to watch, I would say Die Hard. And if you tell me Die Hard is not a Christmas movie, I will fight you. Okay. Okay.
I love it. Annie, what about you?
That's a really hard one. But I guess I would say that Christmas Story.
Mm-hmm.
With the little boy that's going to shoot his eye out, and his name is Ralphie, and I have a son named Ralphie, so.
Oh, that's cute.
I'll go with that one.
I have not seen that, and I think it's set in Cleveland or was filmed in Cleveland, and I'm from Cleveland, so it's really bad. But I have not seen it.
You should see it. It's a classic.
It's a whole list of movies that I haven't seen yet. So yeah.
All right, so this one, I feel like this could be kind of hard. This is in a similar vein. What's your favorite Christmas or holiday song?
Right now, mine is going to be Let It Snow, the version by Boyz II Men and Brian McKnight. They just remade it. Ooh. And they sound so freaking good still. And they got that whole grown man thing going on with the gray and stuff. I love it.
I'm like writing this down. I need to look at that because I
you
love
should. They just redid it. It's like on OWN or something. It sounds so good. I shared it on Instagram as a matter of fact.
All right, I'll look it up.
I'm gonna look it up too. That sounds good. I'm gonna go with I'll Be Home for Christmas because it's pretty simple.
Yeah,
that's very pretty. Okay, so back to small town. What do you think is the best place to get the absolute like hottest, juiciest small town gossip?
Oh, I think it. I know, the hair salon. Mm-hmm. That's gotta be it. It's gotta be the hair salon. That's where all of the good gossip is happening, at the hair salon and at the barbershop too, because the men gossip too. Don't let them fool you.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm gonna go with the cafe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
In and out of the cafe and getting their coffees and chatting, or church.
Oh yeah,
that's true. Everyone goes there. You gotta go. Yeah. Okay, so this one, hopefully your families aren't watching, but who is the hardest person to shop for on your gift giving list?
Oh, who is the hardest person to shop for? I would say my son's mother-in-law to be, because she's hard to shop for because she's so easygoing, and she's like, I don't want anything, and so you can't really get her to tell you what you want. So yeah, I would say that's who's the hardest on my list.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's my nephew because, as when he was young, he used to always open his gifts and he'd be like, "Is this it?" And so now I'm kind of like, I've got this like block where I'm like waiting to see if he's gonna like his gift.
Yeah. Oh, I have to say, usually okay, I'm one of those people that prides myself in like giving really good gifts. But this year, I don't know. I think it's just because like everyone has just like we've been cooped up or whatever. I don't know what it is, but this year my mom is really, and she could be watching, although she hasn't popped in the chat, but she's giving like I was like, I need something. And she's like, I don't need anything. And I was like, yes, and I'm gonna like show up either whatever we do, if we do a socially distanced visit or if we do it over Zoom and like you don't have anything from me, you're gonna be mad. So I don't know if anyone has any suggestions. What should I get my mom for Christmas?
I like that candle you held up earlier. That's a good gift.
I like that.
I'm gonna have to order one. That's it. You just saved Christmas, Annie. Thank you. All right. So do you make New Year's resolutions? Why or why not?
I do. Because I'm always hopeful that next year is good. Look, okay, I'm one of those people, me and my husband can play like tennis or something. He'll beat me 5 games in a row. In the 6th game, I'm still determined that I'm going to whoop his behind. So I'm just, that's just how I am in my head. So every year I do make some sort of New Year's resolution. So, and this year I was actually doing what I said I was going to do. I had joined the gym. I was going like 3 or 4 times a week, and then the pandemic happened. So, of course.
Yeah, of course. What about you, Annie?
Yes, I love to make New Year's resolutions. It's like something I look forward to. I don't keep them, and I can never find my list, but I love to make them. I have like all these big ideas. I'm sure I don't accomplish them. But New Year, gonna do it all.
Yeah.
Like, do you sit down and like plan it, or do you just kind of jot them down as you think of them? Like, what is your process for your New Year? Because I am not. I'll kind of set like I call them intentions, but I really don't like make myself beholden to like a list of things.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Like, maybe it was like 5 years ago. And I had set this list of things I was determined to accomplish in the coming year. And I wrote the list, I don't know, maybe in late December or something. And I honestly did not look at it, think about it, whatever again. And I stumbled across it like in maybe September or October. And it was amazing because I had crossed off almost everything on the list, even though I hadn't been like tracking it. So I definitely do think it helps to sit down and say, hey, what is it that I want to accomplish in the year ahead? Yes, it's better to have an actual plan to make those things happen. You can't expect the magic to happen every year. Right. But yeah, I do. I mean, I like that. I know some people don't like to do, they feel like they're setting themselves up for failure, but I like having the idea of having something to aspire to. Right. And I definitely like to do a word of the year. So I do try to pick that.
I don't do that, but that's cool.
I like the word of the year thing. I started doing that a couple of years ago. And I think that it really like sets your mind up, and and it's like one of those things, like you can just like look back on it and, remind yourself to like practice what you wanted, what you hoped for. Yeah. Annie, what about you?
For the goals or the word? For how I track my goals?
Yeah, how you track it. I was like, what did I ask? Yeah. How do you like plan it out?
Yeah. I like have little categories. So I have like family, and then I have like writing life, and home life. And I get real excited about my goals.
I like it.
So I have categories, and then I put what I want for the year ahead in my categories. But I agree with Reese. It's good to have a plan, because you won't get where you can't get where you're going if you don't know where you want to go, or something like that.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so I know you both said you don't remember names But I always ask, I love asking authors for book recs because I think authors, and I think romance authors in particular, give the best book recommendations. So if you do have any, and it could be, doesn't have to be like right away, anytime, anything that you've read recently that you loved and want to recommend.
Okay, so my recs. I actually have been asked this question a lot lately, so they're fresh in mind. So first of all, even though I read it like a year ago, I'm gonna rec so hard. Lush Money by Angelina M. Lopez and Hate Crush came out earlier this year. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I cannot wait to read it because I love Lush Money so much. Other books that I would recommend, I read a great little female novella by Mika James called Being Hospitable, and it's actually the best friend's younger sibling trope. And it was really good. So it's called Being Hospitable. Being Hospitable. A book I cannot wait for is Gray Hair Don't Care by Karen Booth. I don't know if you've seen the cover, but it's like an illustrated cover, but it's an older woman, all beautiful silver gray hair, and she has this beautiful hot pink dress, and the hero looks kind of like Keanu Reeves. So that's coming out in February, coming up, and I think the hero is like 47 or something, and so I can't wait for that. I'm looking really looking forward to that book.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one with the Keanu Reeves hero. It's right up my alley.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite authors that I discovered this year, Catherine Center. I don't know if you guys have heard of her, but that was my favorite book that I've read in a long time. I've discovered Kelly Harms. I really like her. And an oldie but goodie, like she's been around for a long time, but Karen Slaughter has become like my go-to. Something about thrillers this year. I guess it was 2020 and I needed a genre change, and I just love it.
That is wonderful. Okay, so let's see. Let me check.
Ooh, one more book I'm gonna say I'm absolutely looking forward to reading is The Never List by Dale White. The cover is gorgeous. I don't know if you saw the cover. I think she has like a green turtleneck on. So I cannot wait to read that one as well. So
that title is really good.
No, yeah, no, I love these chats because then I just make like a list of all the books I'm going to look up and properly ignore everyone with. Okay, everyone. I do want to remind everyone, if you do have questions for authors, it could be anything. It could be fun. I have a few more I can add to my like rapid fire list because we still have some time. We should chit chat. So let's move on. We've talked about this a little bit, but let's just dive deep into some more of your favorite romance tropes. So we've talked about small town. We've talked about friends to lovers, and kind of like all of that, those iterations. So what are some more of your favorite romance tropes?
So I have I have a top 5 because I love so many of them. So top 5 for me would be enemies to lovers to write and read, friends to lovers, second chance. What else is in my top 5? I love forced proximity.
Yeah.
Ooh, love that one. Yes. And one I never thought I would write, and I ended up writing 2 for next year, is Marriage of Convenience. Did not ever think I would write a Marriage of Convenience, in a contemporary romance, and I've written 2. So Waking Up Married, which is coming up in March, which is the next book in my Bourbon Brothers series, the book that follows a reunion of rivals. That's going to be a Marriage of Convenience. And then also I'm working on a trilogy with Karen Booth and Joss Wood that my book is going to have a Marriage of Convenience as well. So
that is so fun. I just want to say the cover for Waking Up Married is gorgeous.
Thank you.
That title's great.
Yeah.
Love it.
It describes it to a T. And when they asked for my recommendations for a title, I don't think I used that, but they came up with that. And I was like, yep, that's it. That's absolutely it.
That's awesome. Annie, what are some of your more or additional favorite tropes?
Well, some of the same ones that Reese mentioned. I love second chance romance. I love homecoming. I love best friend's little sister for some reason.
Yes, love that. I love that one.
Yeah, forced proximity is always really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, those are my favorites.
yeah. What are some of the genres that you both like to read, or do you read outside of romance? You brought up Karen Slaughter, Annie. So what are some other, genres or authors who you turn to?
Me?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, well, this is the year I've been like just, experimenting with all kinds of genres. So I have found a love for like thrillers and domestic thrillers and a little bit of paranormal and women's fiction. I've been kind of trying it all out this year.
Nice.
It's the year of new things. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say more I'm like reading different subgenres of romance or nonfiction. But which is weird because we watch almost exclusively murder mysteries and stuff. So you would think I would read more of those because like we're big into that, especially the British and Canadian murder mysteries. So love like Murdoch mysteries and Frankie Drake mysteries, Miss Fisher murder mysteries, stuff like that. So, and I do have like a historical series that I've been sitting on for like 5 years that I want to write, as well as a romantic thriller series that I've been sitting on for like about the same amount of time. So I'm trying to start reading more in those genres as well.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, my next rapid fire question is, what is your go-to writing or reading snack or drink that you always have to have on hand?
See, I don't know that I'm consistent. See, I am terrible with stuff like this because I don't think I'm consistent with anything. Okay, I know drinking tea. I have tons of different kinds of tea, but I'm always drinking tea. So
nice.
Yep. Same. Coffee in the mornings and then tea the rest of the day. We have all kinds of tea. I put maple syrup in it and honey in it, and I'm just.
Well, I haven't tried putting maple syrup in it before. I do honey, but I've never tried maple syrup.
Maple syrup's good.
Yeah, I'll try that.
I like that. What are some of your earliest bookish memories?
I would say being taught to read really early, like maybe like for around 3 or and not 3, like a 5, I think. But I remember like around 3 being read stories and just like falling in love with the whole with stories and the whole storytelling process and stuff. So I remember falling in love with books and just all of that when I was very, very young. That's probably my earliest bookish memory. And then the second one would be in my neighborhood, we had this really small library. It was like seriously like a corner store. At least it started off that way. And my friends and I, friends that I'm still friends with now. And we would all go to the library, take out as many books as we could and read them all and then come back and do it all over again. So those are kind of my earliest memories of just like falling in love with books and stories.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I fell in love with books at an early age too, and I always wanted, to be read to. And one of my earliest memories is before the Saturday morning cartoons, there was, and I don't know if you remember this, nobody remembers this. There was like an older lady who sat in a chair and she just read books, and it was before the cartoons. Oh. So I woke up extra early, not so I could watch cartoons, but I could watch. She was like a librarian or something, and she read books. And it was one of my favorite things.
I love it. I love it.
But then, as I got older, it was like Fear Street and Christopher Pike and like all those books that you just couldn't get enough of.
Yeah, that's so fun. I mean, that sounds, I don't remember having someone reading before the cartoons, but I feel like if there was, I would have been the same way. It would have been like, up early on a Saturday to listen to the book lady, not necessarily to watch the cartoons. Okay, so before we wrap up, I don't believe I'll go through the comments while you guys are talking again, but I want to know what readers can expect from you next. So Reese, why don't you let us know?
So for me, the next up would be in January. I have a novella that's going to be featuring grandparents called Something About You. And in March is Waking Up Married, which is the next book in the Bourbon Brothers series. It's the penultimate book in the series. It's going to be one more left after that, Cole's story. So I'm excited about Zora's story coming up. So
awesome. All right, Annie, what's next for you?
And I have the last book in my Sweetwater Springs series is releasing in January. So I also have a January release. And then I have a whole new series starting in, I think, May.
Wonderful.
So, yay.
awesome.
Yeah, I love to hear you guys have like busy things going on. That's so exciting. Congrats to you both.
Thank you.
On all of that. So before we sign off, I thought I would also have you guys let everyone know where they can find you. Like where's the best place to be found online, website, Twitter, where do you like to be contacted, all of that good stuff.
So for me, the place to go would be my website. And from there, you can find everything else, including my YouTube channel, Story Behind the Story, which will start up again in January. And you can catch up with my talks with Beverly Jenkins and Brenda Jackson and just all these amazing authors from last year. I mean, from earlier this year. But it's ReeseRyan.com. That's REES as in Sam, ERYAN.com, because a lot of times people will spell it with a C. So it's Reese with an S, ReeseRyan.com.
Nice. All right.
And the same for me. You can just go to my website, AnnieRains.com. And I have, all of my social media on there. I think I hang out the most on Instagram these days, but then, Facebook and Twitter as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you both again for joining us. Before we officially say goodbye, I do want to remind everyone to head to lovesweetarrow.com. You can order Reese's and Annie's books there. Reese, I believe you signed books, right?
I have a whole carton of signed books.
Okay.
And if people order them like today and tomorrow, I can actually personalize them because I haven't mailed them yet. That was the reason I haven't mailed them yet, because because I'm allowing you to request a personally signed book. So
yeah, awesome. And like I said earlier, you guys check out the merch at Love Sweet Arrow, get the candle. It's one of my favorites. And then, they still have holiday boxes. They have t-shirts. It's so much fun. I do want to take a minute and just remind everyone during this gift giving season, if you can shop small where you can. We want, you guys both write small towns, how important small businesses are. We need to take care of them just like they take care of us in our community. So I want to thank you both. This was a really fun little Wednesday night chat. I had so much fun.
Same. Thank you so much, Danielle. And thank you, Annie, for being here.
Yes, it was so much fun. I love talking to you guys.
Yes, this is great. We'll have to do it again. Hopefully one day in person, we can do it again. So everyone, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Definitely head to lovesweetarrow.com. They have a couple more events. They have an event tomorrow that I'm really excited about for Best Women's Erotica, the anthology. So there's going to be a chat there. I'll be in the chat for that one. I'll be questions. And then the next Boozy Book Broads chat is with me, Melanie Johnson, and Angelina M. Lopez is next Friday, the 18th, with our special guest is Stacey Agdern, and it's the last night of Hanukkah. So her book, Miracles and Menorahs, is perfect. So it's gonna work out. So thanks everyone. This was so much fun. Again, I said that like 7 times, but it was fun. All right.